The soul left the body in a car accident and the ghost realm appeared before him. He chanted the Buddha's name and returned to the world of the living. Chanting the Buddha's name once can eliminate sins as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River. Chanting the Buddha's name once can receive the Buddha's light. The power of the Buddha's name is incredible. One sentence of Amitabha Buddha's name can not only save lives, but also relieve suffering and bring happiness, turn danger into safety, and even lead sentient beings to Amitabha Buddha's pure land. Today Jingya brings you a very incredible story. It was a lay Buddhist whose soul left the body in a car accident and almost fell into the hungry ghost realm. However, because he chanted Amitabha Buddha, he was led by the Buddha's light and returned to the human world. Through this story, we should think more deeply how important chanting the Buddha's name is. The story goes back to 1986. I am Liu Yongqing, with the Dharma name Zhongxiu, from Taoyuan County, Taiwan Province, and I am 52 years old this year. When I was 26 years old, I was in a car accident and my soul was in great danger suffering. But I was saved from the danger by chanting the name of Amitabha Buddha. In 1986, I had a serious car accident. The injuries caused at that time have not been healed to this day. I immediately became unconscious once the car accident happened. When I regained consciousness, I was already in a dark sky, floating, and I didn't know where I was floating to. Suddenly I floated to a place and stopped. After stopping, I kept falling down. I fell for a long time until I landed on the ground and stopped. I couldn't see anything at all when I stopped, because the environment was too dark. After a while, although it was very dark around my eyes, I had begun to adapt and could see the surrounding environment. There were many people around, but the people I saw were very ugly. Very ugly. Not only with big heads, but also with milky white and light green limbs, feet, and faces. Some even looked very ferocious, and some had no limbs. At this time, all the people were waving at me, shouting, "Come, come, come to me." I looked carefully and didn't recognize anyone. I said to them, "I don't know you, I don't want to go to your place." I turned around and wanted to leave. At that moment, I suddenly heard someone calling my name, "Yongqing, Yongqing, I'm here." Hearing this voice, I immediately turned around, because there were too many people. I looked for a while and finally saw someone I knew. I immediately ran over and stretched out my hand. Just as I was held by him, his face immediately changed and became very terrifying, as if he wanted to eat me in one bite. I struggled to leave, but his power was very strong and I couldn't get away. Just as I struggled desperately, I shouted unconsciously, "Amitabha Buddha, save me." I hadn't learned Buddhism at that time. It must be because I had learned Buddhism in my past life, so I chanted the holy name of Amitabha Buddha unconsciously in the crisis. Unexpectedly, as soon as the Buddha's name came out, a golden red light immediately bloomed in the air. The light was so strong that even the lines on the ground could be seen clearly. And there were at least tens of thousands of people, and those ugly people disappeared in an instant. The process was too fast, I couldn't react for a while, I could only stand there dumbfounded for a long time. When I came to my senses, I suddenly thought that escaping was important. Although I didn't know where to run, I turned around and ran. When I turned around to run, a young man wearing an orange robe and about 8 feet tall appeared not far in front of me. He walked forward in front of me. He walked like an average person skating, very briskly. He walked, and I instinctively ran behind him. I felt very safe following him, but I don't know why, no matter how fast I ran, I couldn't catch up with him. At that time, I was very curious to see how he walked. But his robe was too long and covered his feet, so I couldn't see anything. I saw the golden red Buddha light on his head, which was very beautiful, and the light contained many other colors of light surrounding it. Because the light ring on the top is movable, as long as he moves, the light ring will automatically rotate around him. The light ring is very bright and strong, but not dazzling at all. Especially the golden red light, even the sun in July cannot compare. It is really incredible. I kept running behind, chasing the young man in red robes. Strangely, he walked higher and higher in the sky, while I was still on the ground. No matter how hard I chased him, I couldn't catch up. I could only watch him go up to the sky. At this time, although my body was weak and my eyes were not open, I could vaguely hear someone shouting, "He is conscious again, alive." After a while, I woke up. I was sweating all over. My parents said, this child was scared by the car accident, so he sweated all over. In fact, they didn't know that I was sweating because I was desperately chasing Amitabha Buddha. At this time, it was only 4 or 5 hours since the car accident. So fellow Lotus friends, in that moment of terror and danger, when I felt that I had no way out, I used all my strength to shout out the 4 words Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha personally rescued me from the abyss and the siege of my enemies and creditors. He also protected and led me back to the human world. If I had not chanted the name of Amitabha Buddha at that time, I would have fallen into the 3 evil realms. This shows how incredible the great power and merit of the name of Amitabha Buddha is. Prajnaparamita says, the sharp sword is the name of Amitabha Buddha, and all sins are removed with one chant. If one chant of the Buddha's name has such an incredible effect, then how could Amitabha Buddha not care for us who usually chant the Buddha's name? When I think of those sentient beings who are still struggling in the darkness, I feel pity and sorrow for them. I hope they can also chant the Buddha's name and be reborn in Amitabha's pure land. And always be vigilant to yourself and be sure to chant the Buddha's name honestly. This story reflects the compassion and power of Amitabha Buddha. Mr. Liu Yongqing had never studied Buddhism and had never chanted the Buddha's name before the car accident in this life, but he naturally chanted the Buddha's name at the critical moment of life and death. This is enough to prove that he had good roots in his previous life and was already a person who chanted the Buddha's name. This Buddha's name has been deeply planted in his alaya consciousness. Many people who are dying will see their deceased relatives coming to take them away, which is comforting, but they often ignore the traps in it. These relatives are mostly transformed by sentient beings in the underworld. At this time, ordinary people are easily degraded, because they are greedy for worldly feelings. This is a big problem, because these so-called relatives coming to take them away are all transformed by many evil ghosts in the underworld. They mainly use worldly feelings to move the hearts of the deceased, and then follow them to suffer in the 3 evil realms. Everyone must understand this point, and Mr. Liu's experience proves this point. The familiar man who changed his face into an evil ghost was the illusion of karma. Without the blessing of the Buddha's name, it is very easy to go astray. From this, it can be seen that only the Buddha's name is the real support, the bright light in the darkness, and the floating wood in danger. Although Mr. Liu was not dying, his consciousness fell into the netherworld and had experienced the 3 evil paths. Without the blessing of the Buddha's power, he would have fallen into the hungry ghost realm and suffered immeasurable pain. However, because of the recitation of the Buddha's name, the darkness was broken, the disaster was turned into peace, and he returned to the world of the living. The merits of the Buddha's name are incredible. Today, whether we want to eliminate karma, go to the Pure Land, or transcend for our relatives, we all recite this sentence Namo Amitabha. Remember, if a person commits many sins, he should fall into hell, and then hear the name of the Buddha, and the fierce fire will be cool. No matter what kind of serious sins, including the 5 heinous crimes and the 10 evil deeds, it can be eliminated, and the effect is immediate. As long as we are sincere and recite Namo Amitabha, our sins will be eliminated immediately. It is just like when we hit a drum, the sound comes out immediately after we hit it. Similarly, when we recite Namo Amitabha, our sins will be eliminated immediately. If the lifespan has not yet come to an end, chanting the Buddha's name can eliminate karma, just like Mr. Liu. Although he has not studied Buddhism, he chanted this Buddha's name in a time of crisis, which eliminated karma, increased blessings, and prolonged life. If his lifespan has come to an end, one can be reborn in the Pure Land by chanting the Buddha's name right now. Mr. Liu's experience of chanting the Buddha's name and being saved makes us deeply realize that chanting the Buddha's name must be started before a crisis appears. Chanting the Buddha's name is a lesson that should be practiced all day and night. Chanting the Buddha's name is not just a form or a slogan, but a belief and reliance on the power of the Buddha. It is a true belief and sincere wish, a heart that seeks bliss, and honestly chants the Buddha's name. No matter what happens in this life, after death, you will definitely be led by Amitabha Buddha to the Pure Land.